Okay, we're live. All right, I'm gonna give this a shot. I already tried to do this video like 3 times, and the technology keeps messing up. I wonder why. This topic is very much at odds with the algorithms, not just the technological algorithms, but also just the mental algorithms that exist. So every time I try to put this perspective into those existing ways of seeing the world, there's always some kind of glitch, because what I'm talking about is going against and disrupting the way that this is built. And when I say this, I mean the whole world, the whole human world. Fucking ridiculous. Okay. So, Astral Warfare. Astral Warfare. It's weird when you've already recorded something, right? And then you try to go back and redo it because it's like I've already said this. And so it's kind of messing with my head to say it again and start from scratch. So forgive me bear with me as I try to sort through this. Astral Warfare. This is what we're dealing with right now in the world. So I want to go into a couple of different topics that all relate. So we're going to talk about energy harvesting, mind control, and weather modification, aka climate change, right? The atmosphere and the physical weather of the planet is in direct relationship to humanity's mind, the mind state that we are in. So first, before I dive in, the astral plane. It is not a separate realm or reality. It's not separate from your everyday existence as a human being. The astral just means the mental. Okay, so we all are existing in the astral at all times. Your thoughts, your emotions, your imagination, your dreams, these are different wavelengths within the astral, within your mind, right? And so we have a physical body, we have a 3D physical body. But we all know that's not the only thing that we are, right? We also have a mental presence, a mental vessel, a mind. And this is your presence in the astral, how you think, your perspective, how you see things, what you think, how you feel. So the way that I see it is, the third dimension is material reality. And the fourth dimension is the mental reality, right? Your thoughts and your emotions. And so it's not that it's not physical. The astral is physical. It's just not physical in the same dimension. It's a different layer within you are existing in the 3D and the 4D and the 5D. So the 5D is the astral almost has like 2 layers, right? There's your thoughts and your emotions, which are kind of like your emotions is where your thoughts and your mind plug into your body, right? Your emotions are actually a physical response to something that you're mentally perceiving, right? So emotions are the energy in your astral body moving through your physical body, right? So when you get embarrassed, you get flushed, right? You get pink cheeks, or if you're nervous, right, you start shaking, or if you are, if you see something really beautiful or someone that you are really attracted to, your heart starts beating. Same thing with anger, if you get upset, your heart starts beating, right? So these are what we call emotions, is when that astral mental starts moving through the physical. Motion, it's moving through you. So that's the place that sort of lower, people call it lower astral as a way of saying bad, but that's not what it is. Emotions are not bad or good. They all have a purpose. They have a purpose. They are how you get up and take action on your thoughts. If you have a thought, but you don't really have a feeling about it, are you going to take an action on it? No, right? That thought is just going to kind of come and pass. It's the emotions that are literally fuel. They are moving through the astral, but it's the most dense part of the astral, and you can see that there's an overlap with your physical body. Your thoughts are sort of less dense than emotions, right? Thoughts are above that. This is all the fourth dimension and how I see it. What's directly outside of the third dimension, right? So I have my physical body, the third dimension here. And then my astral body, my mental body, is around that, right? It's bigger and it's less dense, right? And if you think about even the way that the body is organized, it's follows along this as well. The most internal parts of your body, your bones, are the most dense. And then you have tissues and organs, right? And skin. And then you have like hair, like, right? Like you have all these things on the outside of your body that are a lot less dense than bones. And so there's this kind of density gradient in terms of your body. And it starts with your bones, it starts with your organs, and it moves outward, and things become less dense as they go outward. So, right, your emotional body, which is moving through your heart center, right? It's the emotions, it's like this vibrational body around you. And that's why these things become collective, right? They are moving through you, but they're also bigger than your physical body. So if you're sharing physical space with someone who gets really excited or gets really angry or gets really, has a strong emotion, you're going to feel it as well because it's literally in the air around them. They're projecting that vibration outward around their physical body. So we have this physical body, we have this emotional body, then we have this like mental body, right? Our thoughts, our logic, our analysis, how we see things, right? Our perspective, the kind of, this is even less dense, right? So you have an emotional body and then you have this mental body. And then the fifth dimension is even more larger. The parameter of your fifth dimensional body is bigger. This is your dreams. This is your imagination. This is your visions. And I mean dreams both in terms of, daydreams and kind of, like I said, your visions, your visualizing, your capacity to visualize. But it's also your dreams at night, right? When you dream, you are your conscious, your awareness goes from your conscious layer, the fourth dimension, where your conscious thoughts and emotions that you're aware of, right? That's kind of like this fourth dimensional body. And then the fifth dimensional body is when you go into your sort of, I don't even want to say subconscious. I think it's like super conscious. Like subconscious means below your consciousness, right? This is almost above or outside of, larger than. Above and out is really just out, right? Above is just out. Below is just in. That's a whole other video. So, okay, this is a whole rundown of what the astral is, because astral warfare is just mental warfare, but we need to put it in this context of the astral plane and how the astral plane functions as a dimension to really understand what's going on here and how it connects to the 3D, because it's not separate. These things are layers of the same thing. So every being in existence has a physical body, an emotional mental body, and then a dream imagination body, right? And so there's different things within these fourth and fifth dimensional aspects of you, of each of us. There's things like faith and belief, very powerful, very, very powerful. That's what allows you, there's this, right, when you think about dreaming, what's your greatest dream, right? A lot of people step outside of what they believe to be possible, or their limitations, right? That's that kind of space where you can imagine something that doesn't exist, and then if you put belief behind it, you actually can make it exist, right? So yeah, there's all these layers within the astral, the emotional, the mental, the imaginal. I don't know if that's a word. And we all have them, okay? This is not like astral travel, astral projection, astral warfare. All these words sound very, superheroes who can like have superpowers, and there's some sort of different separate realm that you have to learn how to like astral project yourself. No, astral projection literally just means thinking outside of whatever box you were in. It means projecting your mind to where you want it to go. Astral what was the other one I just said? Astral projection. I forget what getting to the topic of video, astral warfare, right? I think people have this image that it's this kind of like superhero kind of thing where, some sort of shaman goes into like a trance state and is able to like project himself into some kind of alternate reality. That is not that is a thing, but that's not what astral warfare is. The word astral simply means mental. That's it. We all have an astral body. We all exercise our astral travel. That was the other thing. Astral travel, it just means using your mind to explore things you haven't thought about before. And astral warfare means the fight, the battle, the conflict over world views and over how people think. And this is what's going on in the world today. I mean, it's been going on for some time, for a couple thousand years. And this is the thing, right? We have all these sort of concepts like energy harvesting and weather manipulation and climate change and etc. Right? We have these concepts, and I want to tie them together. So energy harvesting, we all know that our energy is being harvested by these systems that exist within over humanity, right? We all know that things like entertainment, media, social media, the internet, sports, music, movies, politics, like all of these things, there's starting to be a general awareness in human collective consciousness. We're starting to be aware that our mental energy is being harvested, right? That we're like, okay, what, data farming or engagement farming, right? Like there's all these human time and attention and emotional response is very, very valuable. And I want to point us to what it's being used for. So a lot of people, like the conspiracy theory, or just regular theory at this point, right? All the conspiracies are just theories. people talk about energy harvesting as like, okay, right, they do all these rituals, in Hollywood, and there's these, like, what's the word? I think it's like loosh or something, where you know, they're harvesting from us our time and attention. And there's an obvious, hold on, I have to sneeze. Oh my God. Okay, it's going away. Oh, I hate that when you have to sneeze and then you don't. Oh my God. Okay. So there's a general understanding that our energy is being harvested, but what is it being harvested for? On a surface level, I think it's obvious that, something like engagement farming, it's being harvested because it is profitable, right? If you have a bunch of views on your video or on your post, then you get ad revenue, right? So there's that part of it. But what is the point of harvesting all this, like something like a sports stadium? Right. We know obviously people are making money off of that, right? The people who own the stadium, who own the sports team, like people are getting rich, right? But there's another level to what's happening with the energy that is being harvested from us, from the mental energy that's being harvested. And my theory is that it's being used to modify the weather, to modify the atmosphere. And this brings me to weather modification. And similarly, there's a general understanding, whether you're on the kind of more conspiracy side of weather modification, that there's kind of like, government projects or scientists who are kind of playing around with nature, right? And using different particle accelerators or EMF, electromagnetic stuff to generate rain, to create earthquakes, etc. Right there, that's the conspiracy theory around that. On the flip side, there's the sort of climate change theory, right, which is that it's accidental, that humans are not doing this weather modification on purpose, that it's more happening by accident, right? That the actions we're taking over time are leading to a sort of collapse in the environment. Now, I'm not saying either of these theories are wrong. I think they're both pointing to something that absolutely is happening. But I want to tie them together. I think they're both happening because of the human mind state. I think that if you want to modify the weather, you need a bunch of people with a strong emotional, with a movement, passing a wave, right? Waves passing through the water, the blood within the human body. We can generate an incredible amount of energy from the human body. The emotions that we generate naturally are fuel, and they move the astral. So this is where we have legitimate, traditions like rain dances, rain ceremonies, where, if there's a drought, this is like a long-standing tradition, right? We would get together and we would, drum and sing, and what does that do? It creates vibration. And you get a bunch of people together and you get the vibration moving through this group of people. And if you direct it and then you take that, everybody comes together to do that with this intention of sending it up into the sky, right? And asking, bringing the rain down with this vibration. This is exactly what's happening now. both purposefully and accidentally. So we have, groups that understand this, that understand that a bunch of humans gathered together in a location with a large emotional response that generates movement in the astral. And there are groups that understand how to use that. So that's literally what a stadium is it's a siphon. It's a siphon. And if you think about the emotion that's generated in a stadium, right, you have both polarities. You're going to get a strong positive response from the winning team, and you're going to get a strong negative response from the losing team. This is critical to be able to do anything with that emotion in the astral, because that duality of having a strong plus and a strong minus, it creates a current. Okay. It creates energy that literally is being used to change the weather. That's where they're getting any of these projects that are experimenting with that, even if it's coming out of a lab, even if it's coming out of some kind of, scientific thing, there's an aspect to it. There's an element of that experimentation that is utilizing human emotion. There's a ton of emotions happening in the human collective right now. People are angry, right? People are fearful. People are there's like very, very, very strong emotions that have built up over time, right? There's a long backlog of fire that has been suppressed over the course of the last few thousand years. Anybody that fought against these systems that are harvesting and extracting from us, from humans, and from the land, right? This is what colonization is, right? This is, or, I don't even like the word colonization anymore, because there's things like ant colonies that work in perfect harmony with their ecosystem. So colonies themselves are not the problem. It's this extracting to the point of collapse, right? That's what we're seeing in terms of these colonizing forces that have colonized the planet over the last couple thousand years, right? So that itself has generated all this anger in humans, right? Like people being displaced, wars, all kinds of religious suppression, all kinds of systematic, displacing people from their land. It's the level of grief and rage in the human population at this moment is catastrophic. And my theory is that's what's leading to the climate change. Not like CO2 emissions and all of the sort of physical, that's just a reflection of what's going on internally, right? Our bodies, our emotions are being harvested. That's how you get to a point where there can be a group of people that point, right? It's through this disconnection, right? It's through this disconnection of the natural pathways, the natural sort of reciprocal relationships that exist when a group of people understand their connectedness to the trees around them, that they understand that their thoughts and emotions affect the trees, and that the trees' thoughts and emotions affect us, right? That's the indigenous way of seeing the world, understanding. And I say indigenous in quotes because every group, every single lineage on this planet had that understanding at one time. Every single one. And it was different depending on the land where they were living. Are you living in a desert? Are you living in a forest? Are you living by the ocean? So all of those ways that we had of understanding that what's happening internally for us is reciprocated, and it's a two-way street. What we are feeling and what's going on in our mental body, our astral body, is affecting and is affected by what's going on for the trees, the ecosystem that we're within. And then that builds up the entire atmosphere of the planet. So the fact that we have been disconnected from that understanding is what allows our emotions to be harvested in this way. And it's what's causing this very strong heat rising up in the planet, right? Like the oceans are getting hotter. There's all this very dynamic, that's a generous word, right? Like destructive weather, movement of water, the way the water is moving through the planet, and the heat that is rising up through the planet it's a reflection, and we're it's not that we're just causing it. It's like it's both. Right? We're being pushed to the planet is like, I can't deal with this, right? I cannot deal with this anymore. So that it's both, right? The planet, the trees, the land itself, the elements themselves are feeling the same thing that we are, right? This pressure against these extractive forces that have got us backed into a corner, that have got, their boot on our neck, so to speak. And so, okay. The astral. What happens in the astral condenses down into the physical. Like I was saying, it's not separate. It's not a separate thing. But it does have like a correlation and a sequence. So the less dense and the farther out you go, right, the larger the parameter when you're in your fifth dimensional body, it's like you can imagine anything, you can visualize anything, things that are not even possible in the physical world, right? But then if you can condense that down into a thought, if you can write it down, if you can express it to someone else, you bring that realm of possibilities, that parameter of what's possible, you change the shape of the sort of fourth dimensional body, right? What you think is possible. And then what you feel is possible, right? So there's this kind of like condensing down, similar to how water evaporates and it becomes very spread out, clouds, right? Moisture in the air. And then it condenses and it becomes clouds, and then it becomes rain, and it sort of condenses down. And then all the rain trickles down to the lowest point and it becomes a river, right? And then the river flows down to the nearest body of water, lakes, oceans. That's exactly how the astral functions. It's a fluid. So it's how we create reality. It's how we create physical reality, is through the astral, through this expanding and then condensing down. And it's not just humans who do this, okay? It's everything that's alive, including the trees. The actual physical atmosphere that we are living within, the air, the clouds, that's the trees' astral body. That's the trees. That's them that is the fluids that they're producing when they in their astral bodies. Now, they don't think in the same way, they don't feel in the same way that humans do, but they have their own way of circulating fluids, of perceiving the world around them, responding to it, working together. And when they do this, it generates an atmosphere. And we're within that. And even larger than trees is the planet as a whole. So the planet as a living being is also going through this process, is also, Earth. She is dreaming. She dreams. She has like, a whole, her fifth dimensional body, her astral body. That's our electromagnetic ionosphere, right? So the physicalized air of the atmosphere is the tree's astral body collectively. And the ionosphere, that electromagnetic, which is much larger, right? It's much larger than the air in the atmosphere. That's the planet. That's the planetary mind. And we're within that, but we also affect it. Very similar to the way that if, you as a human being, if you start to have a bunch of microbes growing in your gut, right? If you have your microbiome changes, it will change how you think. If you've ever heard of mold toxicity or fungal infections that literally change how people think, right? There's all these like mood swings and anxiety and like repetitive thoughts that happen when you get in contact with these microbial beings. That's exactly the same relationship that we as humans have to the planet. So when we start thinking and feeling a certain way, she feels it. And when she starts thinking and feeling a way, we feel it. And this process has been hijacked, right? And this is why I was saying like this extractive system, these structures that extract from humans, extract from the planet, extract from trees, from the ecosystems, right? These systems are built on, they depend on us not seeing the correlation. And this is why, all of these systems, like all of when the Abrahamic religions come through, what's the first thing they do? They kill off all the shamans, they kill off all the witches, they kill off all the people who would lead the rain dance ceremonies, right? Who understood this reciprocal relationship that our bodies and minds have with the bodies and minds of our environment, the planet. So there's a severing that has happened here. And it's war, because what's happening is we're having there's competing worldviews, there's competing bubbles in the human collective astral, the human collective mind. There's competing worldviews, right? We have, and this has been going on for a few thousand years, right? These different religions that were like, no, my God is the one God. And then this other religion is like, no, my God's the one God, right? That's an astral warfare. And what happens? It trickles down and plays out into physical warfare. But it starts mentally. If you don't have competing worldviews that need to be the one and only worldview, you wouldn't have any of these people fighting, right? Over the past however many thousand years this has been going on. And why is it necessary for your worldview to be the one and only worldview? Why do we need to convert others? Why is there this sort of race to agree or to convert everyone and to kind of have the biggest team, right? Because if you have a group of people in a church or a temple believing, putting their faith and belief into a worldview, that is how you make it real. You need those people who believe in you and believe in you strongly. You need that emotion. It's not, there's like levels, right? There's faith and belief. There's visions, how people visualize something, right? So when this is where it gets down into, mind programming and mind control, and how if you create a certain way of seeing something, right? So when you say something like God, you create an image in people's minds that's associated with that concept. That's how you sort of occupy that fifth dimensional, right? You lock people off into your worldview by creating these words that are attached to a concept, images that create a visualization, and then a very strong emotion that goes into that. And when you get people, large groups of people over many, many generations, investing their time, their attention, their passionate emotional responses, their thoughts, their visualizations, you start to create this like bubble in the astral. And there's a really simple way to kind of visualize this in your, or see how this works in your own life. And this is natural to human creation. This is how we create, period. If you think about in your own life, the different groups of people that you know, right? So most people have like their family, the people that they grew up around, right? Their local community. And then people have like their chosen family, right? Their friends, their networks, their sort of around interests. Then you have like your work community, your work group of people that you're part of. People who are, whether it's a job or it's more like a field, everyone's kind of working towards a similar purpose, right? Like there's a common goal. You're working on something together. And right, like there's kind of those three camps that most people, they'll have this family group, this friend group, and this work group. And sometimes those overlap, right? Like sometimes people work with their family. But oftentimes they're very separate, right? So if you think about in your own life, how each one of those groups, when you have a collective of people, a group of people that invest their time and energy and belief into a certain worldview, that's how you make reality. That's how that family came to be. There was some kind of like actual humans are created and born through certain set of beliefs, a certain set of thoughts and emotions. Same with these other groups. But think about how they don't always mix well, right? It's kind of like oil and water sometimes, trying to bring your friends around your family, or vice versa, right? There's this kind of, there's this like gelling that happens around a collective that's sort of in agreement about their worldview and how they feel about that. And trying to sort of be in both at the same time, trying to be the person that you are around your friends, might not go so well around your family, right? Or trying to be how you are around your family might not be appropriate at work. So there's this very natural bubbling. I don't know how else to describe it. And that's literally how I see it in the astral, that there's these like balloons, and the more energy, the more time, the more emotion is put into a particular worldview, the more powerful, the bigger it becomes, like inflates it. So if you look at all these different worldviews that are competing right now, we're looking at the competition over who controls the atmosphere, the physical planet atmosphere. And this is also another video, but this is how you would like terraform a new planet, or travel. This is how you would actually travel to other planetary bodies, is by creating an astral bubble that's strong enough and big enough that it kind of can merge with the planet's astral mind, right? So there's this capacity that humans have, just like trees. We're kind of the next in line in terms of trees, or we're the next in line after trees in terms of terraforming the earth with how we're circulating fluids. And that's, I don't know, I feel like I'm all over the place, but that's like a whole other conversation in terms of the space travel. Although maybe it's not, because we are seeing a lot of that in terms of weather modification, in terms of those groups. A lot of it has to do with space exploration too, right? So yeah, I want to put this out there. I want to connect those dots in terms of looking at how we think and what we invest our thoughts and emotions and belief and imagination, like where we're investing those things, is very critical, because you basically, whatever you believe in, whatever you put your belief into, whatever you invest your attention and your emotions into, you're building their world. You are building that world. You are literally providing them the fuel to build that world into a physical existence. So it's super important to be proactive about how you spend your mental currency. What are you putting your attention into? What are you feeding with your emotions? When you get I always think about this when I see like a sports game. I always think about how there's so many things to be angry about, like righteous things in the world. And all that anger gets wasted at these sports events. Like, I love athletics, and I'm not knocking anyone. All of these art, filmmaking, like all of these different, like the athletes are not the issue, and art and athleticism are not the issue. The issue is the stadiums, right? And the occult orders that built the stadiums, that know how to channel energy and then are using it for their own agenda, right? And so I always think about how we need anger. There's so many things to be angry about. And especially men, like all of the men, and we think about video games, same thing. You have the majority of men spending their anger on a screen, on a team, something that matters not at all in their real life, right? Something that has no effect over the outcome of their life or their community. Like, I think about what would happen if all the anger that gets spent on video games and politics and the entertainment industry and sports, like what would happen if all that anger was directed towards the things that actually need to change in people's day-to-day life, right? The predator in the family that's abusing the women and children. We need the men to be angry. We need the angry men to go after that predator, right? Not screaming at a screen. We need people to confront their boss that is, taking advantage of everybody, not yelling at some random person in traffic, right? So there's this emotions are very valuable, especially anger. Anger is the hottest. Anger has the most heat. So does sexuality. I mean, think about how much of our sexual energy and our rage, our anger energy goes to the screens, goes to things that have no outcome, no material outcome in our actual lives. That's how you know that energy is being used to create something, because it's there for you to create with. Anger shows you where you need to change something. If you're angry, that means you need to confront something and change it, right? Sexuality is used to create. Sexual energy, desire, those are literally how we create life. We need all that. We need all of our own emotions, all of our astral energy. We need it for us. We need it to create the world that we want to create. So, one of the most powerful things you can do right now is redirect your astral currency, the fluids of your emotions, your thoughts, your visions, your dreams, is proactively use them to create the world that you want to see. And something happens when you try to go against these bubbles, right, in the astral. Like if you're part of a family that has a very unified worldview and you try to think differently, right, you're going to get backlash. And it works that way on these bigger levels too. If you're part of a religion or a not just religion, even certain like science, like worldviews, just worldviews. If you're part of, and if you look at the politics situation right now, right, there's like, we're living where there are half the world or part of the world is seeing one reality and another part of the world is seeing an opposite reality. We're not living in the same world. There's these two different or multiple different worldviews, which are astral bubbles, which if you try to go against those, if you try to literally just have a thought that's outside of those worldviews, you will meet so much resistance, even just mentally. Doubt, second guessing yourself, like all of these different, you'll have people just randomly like try to take you off that thought train. I started the video, the technology, a lot of the technology, everything that we have that's physically built on these worldviews is kind of literally just going to like go against you, because when you start thinking with, like, if you start going outside of these fourth dimensional bubbles and you start using your imagination, your vision, your fifth dimensional body, if you start using that to kind of pierce through these bubbles, you can actually cause a lot of damage to the bubbles. Like, think how easy it is to pop a bubble, right? All it just takes is one little pinprick and you can pop a bubble. So if you're inside one of these worldview astral bubbles, the way to fight astral warfare is to use your mind to think differently. And I swear to God, if you can do that, it frees up everyone else who is in that bubble. It creates like a pathway. I think similar to how our individual brains work, where neurons create pathways, I think the collective mind works very similarly. And if you can push up against that friction and resistance to thinking outside whatever worldview you're within, you can literally create a new like neural pathway in the collective mind, and other people will start randomly too, not just through conversation. Like obviously it happens through something like this where I'm talking and I'm expressing a thought and a vision that I'm seeing, right? Other people can now have access to that through how I'm expressing it. But I think it actually happens, or in my experience, I don't think, I know, I've seen it too many times. When an individual can sort of pierce through these bubbles, like all the people within it will feel it, and some people will take that. Some people will fight you. Some people will start working against you and try to protect the worldview. But other people will take that opportunity, and you'll sort of see people suddenly start thinking differently. So that's how you fight astral warfare. It's not this glamorous image of, becoming a shaman and going into a trance and having like some experience in another realm in reality. That's not what astral warfare is. That, like I said, that is a thing. By all means, do that. But that's not what fighting astral warfare is. It's a lot more mundane. It's a lot more the nitty-gritties of being a human on planet Earth and using your mind for yourself. Using your mind to benefit your community, your family, the people directly around you, the land directly around you, the ecosystem that you're part of. That's what astral warfare is. Literally just thinking for yourself. And yeah, like I said, the best two things that we can do right now as humans is to, number one, proactively invest our thoughts, emotions, time, attention, belief, imagination. Invest that very, very proactively in what it is that you want to see materialize. And when you find yourself within a worldview, which we all do, we're all, it doesn't matter what part of the world you're in, what bloodline, what lineage, we're all within some kind of bubble, astral bubble that is a worldview that's keeping us locked within it. So if you find wherever you can locate, okay, this is the worldview that I was raised in. Okay, this is the worldview that's limiting my community. If you can, it can even just be something as simple as like, people from our family or people from our neighborhood, don't make it out of here, or we don't, there's like a cap mentally on how people see themselves and see the world around them. So if you can literally just change how you think from within one of these caps, you're doing a lot to free the other people from within that and to actually destroy it from within. So yeah, astral warfare. Shout out to everybody who is fighting in the astral, who is, going toe to toe with the things that are keeping us locked in this way of seeing the world. So just my 2 cents. Just wanted to connect some dots. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's it. I think that's it. Yeah, I said everything I need to. I'll probably do some more discussions about the astral in general, but this is pressing. We're seeing it in real time. We're seeing how narratives are created, how symbols are being used, how our emotions are being used, how our ways of thinking are being limited and misdirected, and every little bit matters right now. So I just wanted to hop on and give that perspective. So shout out to you if you're fighting your piece of the battle.